Are you satisfied with how business is going? Are you always asking God for more success? Are you striving to make things work out for you? Today, we'll chat about three things from James chapter 4, verse 8 that you need to do to have a better faith life, because that's what starts for you to have a better business life. I hope you join me. This is DeneenTB, your faith-based business strategist and clarity coach. And I've worked with women just like you to get clarity for their God-centered business. One, through my book, Purify, and two, through my programs of masterminding and coaching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you do not miss an episode. Please, please, please say hello to me in the comments as well, since we are live today, so that I know that you are here. Let's get started. Now, you may be really good at your business. You may be consistent in working your business, achieving your goals, and getting ahead. But are you consistent with the one who gave you the passion, the talent, the idea to do what you are doing? And are you consistent with the CEO, the chief everything officer of your life and business? Let's look at what James has to say to those Christians who were spread out all over the known world at the time. His words ring true even for us today. James 4:8 says this: "Come close to God, and God will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, for your loyalty is divided between God and the world." In fact, this whole entire section of James 4, from verses 1 through 10, are about our striving to go after what the world says is success, which is opposed to what God says is success. You can follow along. I'll be referencing these verses, but I'm not reading the verses today. So you can find the version that I'm using, the NLT. So in verses 1 and 2, it really outlines how we are really envious of others and we covet what they have. Oh, isn't that from the 10 Commandments? Have you heard of keeping up with the Joneses or FOMO? It also says that we actually don't have what we want because we don't ask God. But right there in verse 3, it says when we actually do ask God for things, that we actually ask with the wrong motives, because the only thing we really want are things that bring us pleasure. Could hardly say it. Verse 4 explains that friendship with the world makes us enemies of God. And verse 5 tells us that we should be faithful to God because his spirit lives inside of us, and we need to honor that. Verse 6 actually starts to reveal how do we do this, and it all begins with humility. Verse 7 repeats that we must be humble. We must humble ourselves and resist the devil. That's really an action that we need to do. And then verse 8, of course, is the one we're going to be focusing on today. And it says, "Come close to God. He will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, for your loyalty is divided between the world, God and the world." The last section, verse 9, describes really how we should feel about this, how we should feel about this sin. We should be sorrowful, tearful, really deeply grieved. And then verse 10 sums it all up by again repeating what we're supposed to do. You know, the hope that we are to be humble, and then the Lord will lift us up. So here are the three things we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about verse 8, pulling it apart. Three things. Come close to God. How can we do that? Wash your hands. What does that mean? What is that perspective? And purify your heart is the third one. And then it says, why are we going to do these three things? Because our loyalty is divided between God and the world. And just as Jesus said in Matthew 6:24, and it is also recorded in Luke 16:13, we cannot serve two masters. If you're with me, I would love to have some thumbs up. Put your name in the comments. Say yes in the comments if you are with me. Yes, that would be great. So the first statement is come close to God. This means that we need to make time to be alone with God. I believe you should really set apart your best part of your day to meet with the CEO, the chief everything officer of your life and business. He's the one who gave you the vision. He's the one who equips you to carry it out. And he really wants the best for you. We can take control of our spiritual growth by making a decision to decide to cooperate with God and to show our commitment to the Father by our consistent actions each day. He really has a master plan, a plan that is perfect for you, and he wants to share it with you. Trust him. Your very best ideas will come when you are the quietest before the boss. God has a way of speaking to your heart when you allow yourself time to just listen. Bring to him all of your concerns, your problems, your successes, and your ideas, and allow him to make it better. Now, I know you think that busier is better. Our culture has us believing that too. But in God's economy, it is the opposite. Listen to what God is telling you to do. It is the perfect balance for your life when you prioritize him. Balance only is achieved when we prioritize him. So in the comments, I would love you to write the word wisdom if you're getting this. Wisdom, wisdom, and that's great wisdom. The second part of the verse is wash your hands, you sinners. This looks at actually what you're doing, the outside actions that not only God knows, but others can also see. Now, I'm not talking about following a set of rules. You have to remember that James is writing or talking to the Jews that had just been converted to Christianity. They understood this ceremonial hand washing before they would go into worship. They would get the things of the world off of them. He's using that so that he can expand what they already understand, that washing off of the world before entering the worship in the temple. So the best way for me to describe this to you, this wash your hands is, and washing off the world, is to start with our actions. Just like you exercise to keep fit, you know that when you put in the extra effort into your workout, you can actually change your body, right? And that if exercise is going to change you, then it kind of needs to hurt. Your body needs to feel it, right? If you can push your body to change and grow into something new, then I totally believe the same principle applies, that you can push yourself to do the actions it takes to change your relationship with God, to grow it deeper, to have something new. So what does this involve? This involves developing spiritual practices. Now, when I began to have like real insights into my calling and what God was asking me to do and the way he was asking me to do it, it was because of these practices. They included not only Bible reading and study and prayer, which is a daily practice, but also included some other actions that were incorporated into my routines. Things like worship, service, which I want to say for me, service is doing things through my business, not just serving at my church. So I want to put that out there. So worship, service, Sabbath, journaling, fasting, and creative silence and solitude. When all of these things are incorporated into your life, my life, you are focused on God. So it becomes your lifestyle. It becomes all your actions, and they're all aligned with what God is telling you to do, not what the world is telling you to do. So do you have any of these spiritual practices that are outside of the first Bible study and reading and prayer? In the comments, I would love you to write if you've participated in any of these types of other spiritual practices, because incorporating them into your life is truly, truly the way to wash our hands and not sin against God. Okay, I'd love to know that. The third phrase, the purify your hearts, right? This is easy. Purify your heart is really about your attitudes, your intentions, and your motivations. This is really the part that God does, changing us, transforming us from the inside out. And that's why he gave us, you and me, the Holy Spirit to live inside of us, because we can't do it on our own. Washing our hands only gets us so far, but we must decide to make that effort as well. So if we go back to the other verses in this section that we're looking at, James chapter 4, verses 1 through 10, we get our answer to the purifying your hearts. It is humility. We find it repeated in verses 6, 7, and 10. Now, you know that when something is repeated in the Bible specifically, it is good that we listen very closely and very well. So, what does it mean to be a humble person? Well, I think it starts with being a person who is at peace with themselves and at peace with others. That only comes from God. It's a person who values relationships before the need to be right or before the sale. Humility embraces contentment, satisfaction, and simplicity. And it doesn't need to have the nicest or be the best. Here are some things that you can ask God to help you work on as you venture into having this humility, this purifying of your heart, right? Ask him to help you be teachable, to be grateful, to be slow to offend and quick to forgive, and to be patient. Know when to ask for help. Be able to recognize your own limitations, and then be genuinely happy for someone else's success. A humble person is open to deep relationship with God, and they are willing to do the work, or as we said, the work out to improve. And so it takes us right back to our verse. Come close to God, and God will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts. Why? The end of the verse tells us, for our loyalty is, or can be, is always should be staying in check, divided between God and the world. We don't want to be there. We want to stay out of it. So take time each day with God. Develop the spiritual practices that will deepen your relationship with him, and learn to be humble. So do you need some help in one of those areas? I would love to have a clarity conversation with you to see if the 5 P's to significance and satisfaction is the right program for you. In it, I've developed a mastermind coaching program that will give you the tools you need to really work on your relationship with God, develop real personal mastery skills, and create plans so that you have the God-centered business that you desire. I'll put all that information in the description. Make sure to check out the Women in the Bible playlist on my channel at DeneenTB. And then, because they are all from my book, and then make sure to like this video and subscribe. Thanks so much for being here with me. This is DeneenTB. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, be filled to overflowing.